Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about a Ford F250. This is a 2004 model. This is the 5.4 liter V8 engine, and the 5.4 liter, I guess not too many people bought it because had a really hard time finding any diagrams, finding any kind of how-to videos, and because of that I figured maybe you guys would like to see how to go about diagnosing an alternator. On my truck I've already replaced it. That did fix the problem. A couple of things that were going on was rough idle. The battery would die. Like I'd go to start it, battery's dead, drain down. The lights would be pretty weak. The ABS light would come on. I think what happened was my sunroof was leaking, and then I ran the truck with it wet, and there was wet all over the fuse box. And I should probably post that video because that'll probably help some people out too. What I've already done is I've disconnected the battery for the alternator. This is just, like I said, for you guys to see how to test it. My problem's already fixed, so I can't do any voltage readings or anything like that. But what you want to do is, while you're working on an alternator, put your battery on the charger, get it charged up. That way when you have a new alternator, it's not shocked by having to charge your battery from low level like that. It'll just make diagnosing easier. It'll be a little bit easier on your brand new alternator. As you can see, this is the 5.4 liter. It doesn't have 3 valves per cylinder, so we won't have. It's not the engine that's in the F150, it's another engine. To get this guy off, it's pretty simple. There's a 10mm bolt back here. There's also a 13 down on each corner here. And then for the belt, there's some guys online saying that you pull on this. There's some guys saying that you need a breaker bar. But let's see if I can. You can see real easily. Here's the tensioner pulley. It's got a 1/2 inch square, and you can put any breaker. You can break a breaker bar if you want. I happen to have serpentine belt tools, so a serpentine belt tool is really narrow, and just go ahead and pull it over, and then you're going to slip the belt off the pulley here. It's, standard alternator procedure for any Ford, except the stretch to fit belt, which, like on my Fiesta. Anywho, like I said, I looked online. It's really hard to find information for this truck, and I think it's kind of confusing for your do it at home, just because Ford uses special cables. You see here it's yellow, but if you follow that same cable over here, it's red. So I found out that there are fuses in this line. So there are fuses and splices, like right here. If you look, you can see it's a red cable, and it goes right to 2 wires there, and it splits off, and then it goes off who knows where. Looks like it's really just comes straight over here, but there's fuses, like I said. Over here is yellow and over here is red, so that that's confusing to some people. I know it confused me at first, but this is your cable that's attached to the back of the alternator. When the engine's running, you should have 14 volts. 14.4, I believe, at the battery. You can take your trusty meter and set it to the correct settings, and if you know how to do that, you'll be okay doing this job. You're gonna test this cable. You're gonna test from this lead here, and you're gonna test the back of this. You can slip the boot off, but if you test the cable here with continuity, you should have full continuity all the way from one end to the other. I don't know what the ohm reading is. It's pretty low. It's just a wire, but it has fuses in it. So if you have an open or a really high resistance, then you might want to think about swapping out that cable first. And of course, while we're working on this, like I said, I fixed mine, but you want to remove your power before you start messing with this, because if this wire touches the ground, you're gonna kill one of those fusible links in there. So this is a 3G alternator, which I guess they use in a lot of other vehicles, like their Mercury brand and their passenger cars and stuff like that. This is a internal regulating alternator, even though the regulator's on the outside on the back. This right here is what tells this alternator to turn on and when to work and stuff. This top wire is your ignition wire. When the ignition is in run, you must have over 10 volts. This wire right here, it just goes to the stator, which is another plug right here, and it's the pulse coming from the alternator. It's telling the diodes, hey, I'm working. I think it excites some field or something, I don't know, I'm not a alternator engineer. This other wire here is important. This wire right here, this red wire, this wire is actually going to your A terminal on the diode pack. Actually, I'm gonna pause and I'll put in a picture so you can see this a lot clearer, because I took pictures when I was working on it. This is A, this is S, and the top one is I. Very important. A, S, I. That's what's controlling your diode pack. That's what's telling this guy to turn on. And that's usually what goes bad on alternators. Like I said, I ran mine when had a leak in it, and there was water in the fuse panel inside. And I could smell electronic burning, but I didn't know what it was. And I said, well, I'll figure out what it is later. And well, I had to figure out what it was. So the reason I know this, like I said, you won't find this in the Shelton, you won't find this on the forums, you won't find this looking at diagrams. It's so impossible to find. But when I finally said, you know, it looks like my alternator, I'll go get it tested bad. The new alternator came with a technical service bulletin. This bulletin, I think, will save a lot of people a lot of headaches. On all systems, the battery and the A terminal must have battery voltage at all times. This is your battery terminal. This goes to here. This is your battery terminal. This goes to here. That's your A terminal, the red one. You must have battery voltage on that pin, on that plug, from here at all times. If you do not, you have a wiring issue. Start looking at your wiring. If it's this, then, you know, go to the junkyard, go to Ford, whatever you want to do. But your continuity test should show you that. Let's go back to the sheet. You see here? All vehicles with indicator lamps must have at least 10 volts at the I terminal. My truck has a dummy lamp. When the alternator goes out, the battery light turns on. In my case, the alternator was still putting out enough voltage so that the battery light wouldn't turn on, but it wasn't enough voltage to run the whole truck. So it would idle rough, it would have dim lights, and my battery would be dead the next time I go to use it. So like I said, I terminal, at least 10 volts. So when you go over here, that green wire, that's I. Remember, A, S, I. Battery voltage, over 10 volts, stator windings. This must have a good connection. There's a blade terminal. You could do a continuity check from that pin to that connector. Make sure that that's fine. You could just pick up any meter, you know, of Harbor Freight. You don't need anything fancy. I got this for free at Harbor Freight. Once it's all back together, this does charge, and I do see 14 volts right here. So I hope this helps some of you guys. Yeah. Thanks.